My sister publicly shamed me for asking our mother for $400 at Thanksgiving, calling me a mooch. She had no idea I had just finished secretly paying off her $52,800 debt. So, I went to my car, grabbed the paid in full notice, and showed the entire family her secret. This is where the story truly begins, and you won't want to miss what happens. Make sure you're subscribed to see it through to the end. We're always curious. Where in the world are you all watching from today? Let us know in the comments. The smell of roasted turkey and my mother's famous and famously dry cornbread stuffing filled the house, but I couldn't relax. I was exhausted. It was Thanksgiving, and as usual, I'd done most of the heavy lifting. I'm Barbara, I'm 42, and as a senior accountant, my life revolves around numbers. Which is why the $400 I'd fronted my mother, Margaret, for the groceries 2 days ago was weighing on my mind. She had promised to pay me back today. The house was packed with aunts, uncles, and cousins. I found my mother by the stove, flapping a dish towel at the smoke alarm. "Mom," I whispered, trying to be discreet, "were you able to get that $400 for the groceries?" Margaret, a retired nurse who lived to keep the peace, winced and opened her mouth to whisper back. But it was too late. "My God, Barbara, always asking for money." The voice was sharp, loud, and designed to carry. My sister, Selena, at 34, she was a brand consultant, which seemed to mostly involve posting photos of expensive lattes and yoga poses. She was standing in the dining room doorway, holding a glass of wine, a look of profound disgust on her face. The kitchen went silent, everyone turned. "It's Thanksgiving," Selena continued, her voice dripping with theatrical pity. "Can't you just let it go for one day? It's honestly so tacky. Some of us actually learned how to manage our finances." A few cousins snickered. I felt my face burn hot, a wave of shame and anger washing over me. Tacky, me? The woman who still lived in a modest condo, who drove a 10-year-old car, who hadn't taken a real vacation in 3 years. Also, I could fix the one, colossal, $52,800 secret that would have ruined her. The humiliation was nothing compared to the weight of the secret I was keeping for her. I retreated to the pantry, needing a second to breathe. The familiar scent of spices and old cardboard wasn't comforting. My mother followed me in, wringing her hands. "Just let it go, dear," she pleaded in a low voice. "You know how she is, she's just performing." "Performing," I repeated, the word tasting like ash. "She just called me a tacky mooch in front of the entire family for asking for my own money." "I'll get it to you, I promise," Margaret said, avoiding my eyes. "Just, not today, don't make a scene." This was her mantra, don't make a scene. It was the same thing she'd said 18 months ago when she'd shown up at my apartment, red-eyed and shaking. It wasn't about $400 then. It was about $52,800. Selena, the successful brand consultant, had amassed a mountain of high-interest credit card debt and was facing legal action. She hadn't told me, her accountant sister. She'd told our mother. "She'll be ruined, Barbara," Margaret had sobbed into her hands. "Her whole business, her reputation. Please, you're the only one who can fix this. She's so ashamed. I'll make sure she pays you back." I knew Selena. She would never pay it back. But seeing my mother, a 68-year-old retired nurse, on the verge of a breakdown, I caved. I did what I do best. I took the spreadsheets, the angry letters, the terrifying interest rates. I consolidated the entire mess under my own name, a personal debt consolidation loan that tanked my credit score. And for 18 months, I had been making aggressive, automatic, suffocating payments. Selena had never once said thank you. She just stopped talking about it. Looking at my mother, who was already trying to edge back to her guests, I felt a cold, hard resolve settle in my stomach. She wanted me to let it go. They had both forgotten one crucial thing. I'm an accountant. I keep receipts. The sacrifices I'd made for Selena weren't just recent. I'd paid for her brand consultant certification course, a $5,000 online class I was sure she'd never finished. I'd co-signed for her first apartment and ended up paying 2 months' rent when she decided to find herself in Thailand. I was always the boring sister, the safe one. Selena was the vibrant one, the creative, the one who took risks. It was a narrative our family loved, and one Selena curated with obsessive care. I walked back into the living room, where Selena was now holding court, describing a recent wellness retreat to Bali. "It's all about financial freedom," she said, gesturing with her wine glass. She was dressed in head-to-toe beige linen, looking like a magazine ad for effortless wealth. "You just have to manifest it," she declared. "You can't have a scarcity mindset. That's what holds people back." She flicked her eyes in my direction, a tiny, satisfied smirk playing on her lips. "Some people are just stuck, still pinching pennies for groceries." My uncle nodded sagely, as if Selena had just imparted ancient wisdom. "Good for you, Lena, making your own way." I had to grip the doorframe, making her own way. This entire performance, the Bali trip, the linen clothes, the financial freedom, was built on a lie I was paying for. Every payment I made to that loan was a brick in the foundation of her fake success. The audacity of it to preach about a scarcity mindset to the very person funding her abundance was staggering. Her disingenuousness was a weapon, and she was pointing it directly at me. I'd had enough. I was done being the silent, invisible foundation for her castle of lies. The scarcity mindset comment was the breaking point. It wasn't just an insult. It was a perversion of the truth so profound it snapped something inside me. I was no longer a passive victim, the family peacekeeper, or the secret savior. I was a senior accountant who had just been publicly humiliated by her biggest, most irresponsible client. The clever trap wasn't something I had to set. It was already set. It was my meticulous record-keeping. The investigation was already complete. For 18 months, I had managed that $52,800 debt. And just last week, I had initiated the final, glorious, gut-wrenching payment. The confirmation, the paid-in-full notice, had arrived in the mail on Tuesday. It was crisp, white, and sitting in my leather briefcase on the passenger seat of my car. My original plan had been simple. I was going to file that letter away, lock it in my cabinet, and try to forget the last 18 months ever happened. I'd just absorb the cost, the interest, the damage to my own retirement savings, all in the name of family. But Selena's voice, so full of contempt and unearned superiority, changed everything. She hadn't just insulted me, she had insulted the very sacrifice that was allowing her to sit there and insult me. I turned from the living room. My mother saw the look on my face and her eyes widened in panic. "Barbara, where are you going?" "I just need to get something from my car," I said. My voice was calm. It was the calmest I'd felt all day. I wasn't just going to ask for my $400. I was going to close the entire ledger. My mother intercepted me at the front door, grabbing my arm. Her face was pale. "Barbara, please," she hissed, her eyes darting toward the living room. Not today. You promised me you would handle it quietly." The word promised hit me like a slap. "I did handle it," I said, my voice low and cold. "I handled it for 18 months. I handled it when she was buying $300 sneakers and I was eating rice and beans to make the payment. I handled it when my credit score dropped 80 points. I handled it, Mom." "She'll be so embarrassed," Margaret whispered, her eyes filling with tears. "It will destroy her." "She embarrassed me," I countered, the anger finally rising. "She called me a mooch. She humiliated me in front of everyone for $400 when I was secretly paying off a debt that was $52,000. Her debt, the one you begged me to hide." My mother's perception finally shattered. She wasn't looking at her responsible, pushover daughter. She was looking at a woman who had been pushed past her limit. The enabler had run out of excuses. What are you doing?" she stammered as I put my hand on the doorknob. "I'm getting a document," I said, pulling my arm free. "She's a brand consultant. She should understand the importance of accurate accounting." I walked out the front door into the cold November air. I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt balanced. The books were about to be balanced once and for all. I opened my car door, popped the latches on my briefcase, and pulled out the single, crisp, white folder. When I walked back inside, the house felt different. The air was thick with tension. My mother was standing by the dining table, looking faint. She had tried to run defense to maintain control, but she had failed. My case wasn't a complex investigation, it was just the irrefutable truth, printed in black and white. Selena, oblivious, was already at the table, directing people where to sit. "Uncle Mark, you're next to me. Aunt Carol, over there." She was playing the gracious host in a house that wasn't hers, with food she hadn't paid for. My mother saw me, the folder in my hand, and made one last, desperate attempt. "Barbara, let's just eat. We can talk about this business, later." "I think the business is relevant now, Mom," I said, my voice clear and carrying. Selena's head snapped up, her eyes narrowed. "What business? Are you still on about that $400? I've never seen someone so obsessed with money. It's sick." "You're right," I said, walking slowly toward the table. "I am obsessed with money, my money, and, as it turns out, your money, or rather your lack of it." The spell was broken. I was no longer operating under my mother's rules of peace. I was operating under my own. The family members who were milling around the table froze, sensing the shift. This wasn't a simple squabble anymore. Selena, still struggling with her loyalty to her own ego, tried to laugh it off. "What are you even talking about? You sound crazy." "Do I?" I said. I was now standing at the empty place setting opposite her. "Let's find out." The entire family was now seated, or frozen in place, around the Thanksgiving table. The turkey sat in the middle, steaming, completely forgotten. Selena leaned back in her chair, a smirk fixed on her face. "Okay, Barbara, everyone's watching. What is it? Did you bring a spreadsheet to dinner? Are you going to audit the green bean casserole?" I didn't say a word. I calmly placed the folder on the table and slid it across the polished wood. It stopped directly in front of her plate. "What's this?" she scoffed. "My abundance checklist." "Open it," I said. Her smirk faltered. She looked around, realizing this wasn't going her way. She slowly opened the folder. Her eyes scanned the page. The color drained from her face. She went from tan to a pasty, sickly white in seconds. She was looking at the paid in full notice for $52,800. Her name, her multiple creditor account numbers, and the final, beautiful, paid stamp. I don't understand," she stammered, looking at our mother. "You're right," I said, my voice resonating in the dead quiet room. "You don't. You just called me a mooch for asking Mom for the $400 I spent on this dinner. But for the last 18 months, I have been personally paying the $52,800 in consumer debt you racked up. The debt you begged Mom to hide so it wouldn't ruin your brand." I reached into the folder and pulled out the bank statements. I fanned them out on the table like a winning poker hand. "Here is every single payment from my savings account to your creditors. Here's the interest I paid. Here's the hit to my credit." Total deafening silence. My uncle's mouth was wide open. Selena was shaking, her eyes darting around the table, looking for an ally. She found none. You had no right," she finally whispered, her voice cracking. "I had the responsibility," I said, "the one you and Mom gave me. As of Tuesday, that responsibility is over. So no, Selena, I'm not asking for that $52,800 back, but I am getting my $400. I turned to my mother, who was sobbing into her hands. I walked over to her, gently took her purse from the back of her chair, opened it, took out the $400 in cash she'd promised me, and put it in my pocket. "Thank you," I said. "Happy Thanksgiving." I picked up my briefcase, turned, and walked out the front door, leaving the ruins of Selena's fake life behind me. The downfall was immediate. My phone exploded with texts from aunts and uncles before I even reached my car. The family dinner had imploded. Selena's brand couldn't survive the truth. Without my secret funding, and with her reputation among the family shattered, her house of cards collapsed. She lost her apartment within 3 months and had to move back in with our mother, the ultimate humiliation for a financial freedom guru. A few weeks later, Margaret came to my apartment. There were no excuses this time. Just a quiet, genuine, "I'm so sorry, Barbara, I was a coward. I put her shame before your sacrifice, and it was wrong." It wasn't a complete fix, but it was a start. Our relationship began to heal slowly, based on a new, painful honesty. I used my professional network to ensure justice was fully served. I scheduled a final meeting at my accounting office with both Selena and Margaret. I presented Selena with a formal summary of the debt I had paid, meticulously documented as a financial gift for tax purposes. She had to sign the document acknowledging receipt. It was a final, professional severing of our toxic financial tie. She was left facing the true consequences of her actions, with no one to bail her out. The following spring, I booked a 3-week vacation to Italy. I paid for it with the money that was no longer going to my sister's creditors. I finally felt a sense of peace. The books were balanced. I was vindicated.